Hello, this is the Captain Paxo, and this is my second session of Adapting to Duels, so Adapting to Duels Part 2. And in this session, I was playing with Styles Roulette, or Mochi, so shout out to you. It was a fun set of matches, like a lot of fun, and now we get to see, well, you get to see my perspective. So, I'm using the Bastard Sword, and I can't remember what I had on my sidearm. Oh, there we go, Red Hills Halberd. And throughout the series of matches, Mochi is going to be using the Demon's Fists for the majority of it, and he does a pretty good job of it, actually. So in the last video, I was basically saying, like, yeah, I'm not really having much fun with PvP in Dark Souls 3, so, you know, might not play it too much. But actually, this session was really, really fun, and I think the main reason for that is just because it wasn't under the pretense of trying hard. You know, when you're fighting a random person in a duel, like in the Pontiff, or what is it, the High Wall of Lothric, people are generally playing to win. Whereas this right here, I didn't really think it was anything about like who's better. This was just, let's have some fun, let's see what kind of cool stuff we can do, and you know, I did some flashy stuff, he did some flashy stuff. It was a lot of fun. Whereas in, I think, at least, in a duel, the flashy stuff generally gets you punished pretty hard. So, you know, this was kind of a nice lease for that. And I guess if I'm gonna do PvP, I'll probably just end up, like, playing with some friends of mine, you know? Because, like I said, it's a lot more fun. I will try and get back into random invasions though, because I don't know, that's where I started in Dark Souls 1, that's what I did for the majority of time in Dark Souls 1, and I want to do random invasions, it's just I'm having a really hard time, as I explained quite a bit in the first Adapting to Duels. That was a pretty nice clean-up. Is this the clip I think it is? Yeah, it is. Watch this. This is just a showing of you don't really want to run headfirst into a charged heavy attack, because that's half of your health gone, and then a roll catch to finish you off. We had a good laugh about that. That was, oh wow. That was something. But, you know, you probably won't be doing that again, and neither will you, to whoever's watching this. Let's see, the Exiled Curved Greatsword. I quite like the Curved Greatswords, but, you know, they can be sight parried. But it's like, any heavy weapon in this game, well, the majority of heavy weapons in this game, can be sight parried, you know? So, it's, I don't know, I'm not really digging the heavy weapons too much, because I know that anytime I swing, if my opponent is anywhere near competent with parrying, they're gonna parry me straight away. Because, you know, these great weapons are so slow. I mean, maybe this is just like nostalgia for Dark Souls 1, because you know, that basically, like, let's put it this way. I haven't touched the PvP in Dark Souls 2, right? I didn't even touch it. I found the PvE of that game so frustrating that I couldn't bear to make it to the point where I was PvP ready. You know, so I never even touched the PvP in that game. And Bloodborne, I did a little bit of PvP, but that was mostly with a friend, and I already knew like that it would be a lot of blood vial spam and a lot of gun spam, so we decided, you know what, no guns, no blood vials, and then we ended up doing like +5 weapons only with no blood gems, and that was somewhat fun, because when you think about it that way, you know, my last big matchup of PvP in Souls was Dark Souls 1. Like, at this point, that's 3 games ago. 3 games. That game came out in 2011. It's now 2016. That was 5 years ago. Right? So I haven't really had like proper PvP experience in a Souls game since the release of Dark Souls 1. And I'm not saying that, like, you know, I never, like, after the game came out, I never touched it. I went back to it all the time because, you know, I didn't like Dark Souls 2. I didn't do any PvP in Bloodborne. But basically, I've been playing Souls PvP in the same game for 5 years? No, it'd be more like 4 years. So I really want to get into the PvP of a new Souls game, but the PvP in Dark Souls 3 it's quite hard for me to get into because, you know, constant gank situations. And it's like, I do enjoy gank situations from time to time, it's just I don't enjoy it all of the time, you know? I don't want to have to be fighting this war of attrition against 2, 3, and sometimes even 4 people. You know, I don't want that. I want something silly. I want something where I can do something dumb. And there are some places where you can do that, you know, like the Cathedral of the Deep with the giant. But that's like, that's one instance where, or the Road of Sacrifices with the giant crabs. That's like, okay, that's a couple of instances where the environment can hurt both parties, and that's kind of akin to Sen's Fortress. But it's like, you can't really use it in an intelligent way. You know what I mean? Like, you can only get it to aggro on the host and then hope that it doesn't fucking hit you. You know? Whereas, say, in Sen's Fortress, it's like, you know where the traps are, you know how to avoid them. It's quite easy to avoid them when you know where they are, but you want to try and trigger them in such a way that it'll hit the host, or you can use the traps to get a good hit off on the host yourself, you know? Maybe I'm just, like, nitpicking, but it probably is run from a deep sense of wanting a new Souls PvP game, because, you know, like I said, the last game that I spent a lot of time in PvP was Dark Souls 1, so I want something new, and this was gonna be that new thing. But I don't know, this is something that's been I've been thinking about recently. Dark Souls 3 is a much more PvE centric game. It's so heavily focused on PvE. I mean, you can summon phantoms instantly. You can use embers right before a boss fog. I mean, that's not really different from Dark Souls 2, but, like, I don't know, just the way the gameplay, or the game plays, and all of these mechanics put together, it makes for a much more enjoyable PvE experience than it does a PvP. And I've also been thinking, like, Dark Souls 2 was way more focused on PvP. I think that was actually, like, one of their focuses, was like they wanted to make the online aspect really, really strong in Dark Souls 2. But I hated the PvE in that game, and so did a lot of other people. I could not stand the PvE. I hated it so much. I haven't even beaten Dark Souls 2. Because I can't stand the PvE. I don't find it enjoyable. But I have watched a lot of, you know, videos on Dark Souls 2 PvP. I know that's not the same as me actually playing it. But from what I can tell, it looks like a really good PvP experience. You know, because there's so much, like, mechanically wise. There's plenty of weapons that you can cancel the attacks of your moves. There's, like, iframes in your backsteps, which of course led to the backstep parry, which got patched out. There's, like, quite a lot of spell parry shields. I don't know, it just looks like so much more of a sound PvP experience than Dark Souls 3. And maybe that's just me thinking up nonsense, but I really do think that Dark Souls 2 was more of a PvP focused game, and Dark Souls 3 was more of a PvE focused game, and then Dark Souls 1 lies somewhere in the middle, you know? Which is why I love Dark Souls 1 so much more than 2 or 3, because I enjoy both PvE and PvP, which is like, in Dark Souls 2, I couldn't get to the PvP because the PvE wasn't enjoyable enough. You know, I've actually recently bought the Scholar of the First Sin, and that was like a couple of months ago now. I haven't even made it out of the fucking Forest of the Fallen Giants, you know? I just haven't found it in me to actually play all that much. I've been trying to make the stupid jump to that stupid item at the beginning of that level. God, fucking jump mechanics. But, you know, in Dark Souls 3, I could get to the PvP really, really quickly. And, like, even if it took me a while, I was more than happy to do it, because the PvE in Dark Souls 3 is just fun. It's just a really enjoyable experience. But the PvP kind of suffers because of it. It's this kind of weird compromise. If you want the PvP to be phenomenal, you have to make the PvE bad. And if you want the PvE to be amazing, well, you have to sacrifice some aspects of the PvP, you know? I think the biggest, like, showing of the fact that this is more of a PvE game, or is like way more PvE focused, is the fact that the invaders are at such a disadvantage that if you invade someone who's like on a PvE rampage, it's quite hard to win. And that's not saying like it wasn't hard before, but I mean it's so weighted against the invader that it more or less makes it so the host and his phantoms are going to be able to beat you and continue their PvE rampage. You know, I think that was one of the things that From was concerned about, is they wanted people to finish the game, but like they realized that a lot of people are not finishing the game because they get invaded halfway through and they think, ah, fuck it, it's not worth it. So they tried to make it so that invaders are not as much of a threat. I guess this is kind of coming across as a little conspiratorial, but there's legitimate reasoning behind it, you know. You have a Dark Souls game that's focused on PvP, and then you have a Dark Souls game that's focused on PvE. It's not too hard to believe, is it? But, like I said, that's kind of the reason why I prefer Dark Souls 1 so much, is because for me, I need there to be a good PvE experience in order for me to get into the PvP. But then in order for me to stay in the PvP, I need there to be a really good PvP experience. And, well, Dark Souls 1 was the last game that's managed to do that. It's kind of curious to me, like, that you need, they want their games to be either PvE or PvP focused. It's like they can't have it both, but then I think Dark Souls 1 pulled it off very, very well. I don't know, I'm kind of rambling at this point. It's been like 13 minutes at this point, and this is the last fight, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. As I get a... Good lord, Ultra Greats hurt a lot when they do hit.